Well, hello, Kevin.
Hi,
Nice to
hi, Lindsay.
nice to see you. Now, thank you very much for agreeing to be interviewed for our Community Corner section on Facebook. So this is when on a Tuesday I interview somebody from in and around Dundonald. And would you like to just tell folks who you are and how we know each other?
Yeah, well, I'm Kevin Wright, and I attend the Dundonald Parish Church, which is how I know you as the minister. Plus, you like walking in Troon Woods, so we see you from time to time down here. I lived in Dundonald for getting on for 30 years, actually. I lived there a long time. We moved out to Troon 8 or 9 years ago, but we've continued to come to the church there. Although I have to say, the time we were in Dundonald, we didn't attend a church for many of those years. We attended other churches around about in Ayr or Prestwick, but we returned to Dundonald, I think probably about 10 years ago, and we've been happy there ever since.
Oh, well, we love having you and Michelle as part of our congregation. And I was very excited when I got to know the pair of you as your new minister, when I realised you were both musically very gifted. And you helped your church start a praise band here in Dundonald, the praise band coming together just kind of mid last year. So what I was hoping we could talk about today, Kevin, is praise music and why you think it's important that this style of worship goes alongside more traditional church music as well. Why is praise worship important in the life of the church?
Yeah, I have to say, I wasn't expecting to be in this position because 10 years ago, I more or less retired from being involved in worship music. Over the many years, from the age of about 16 to the age of 60, I played in various worship groups or bands of various forms, and say when I hit 60, I more or less decided that was it and hung things up. But however, you encouraged me back in. But why do I think praise music is important? And I have to say, just to say what I understand as praise music, because obviously all hymns and everything is praise to God, so it's all praise music. But where I would say is praise music done in a contemporary style. And what I mean by contemporary is a style that reflects the popular culture of today. And that could be modern songs that have been written in the last few years, or it could be old hymns that have been reworked into a way that is more attractive to people who are in the popular culture, which is the majority of people. And the reason why I think it's important for the church to adopt this, two reasons really. One is because I think it creates a non-alien environment for the unchurched. The fact of the matter is that most people don't listen to classical music, nor the church music. I actually have a very wide taste in music. My classical collection is probably as big as my rock collection, so I like a wide range. But most people, through the radio, through the TV, and especially the younger end of people, they like the popular music. That's what they're used to. And I think back to many years ago, at the age of 15, I was brought up in a non-Christian home. At the age of 15, my best friend, who was a Christian, invited me along to his church. And eventually, I think reluctantly, I went along to one of the evening services he ran. And I was actually very, very surprised, because that was a church back in the 60s that used actually guitars and drums, lively music, and the whole atmosphere was vibrant. And so I didn't just go once, I went back, because it didn't feel alien to me. It felt like there was something here that was worth seeing. And over the weeks and months, eventually I became a Christian through that. I committed my life to Christ at that time. And it wasn't necessarily the music that did it, but it was the music that kept me there, for me to hear the word in various ways. So I think it's very important for the unchurched, because if we created an environment which is alien to people, they won't stay. They won't feel comfortable in it. And I think the music is a big factor towards that. And I think the second reason is because it gives us a good scope, Christians, not the unchurched, the Christians, real scope to worship within the music. Now, a lot of people say modern songs, they can be a little bit trite on the words, or the melodies are a bit too simple or repetitive and this type of, these are the sorts of criticisms you get. But in actual fact, if you look at some of the traditional songs, you can level exactly the same criticism against them. And okay, they've not been written by the Wesleys and so on. They've been written by just the average man or woman has written the song, and it's their experience. And I think because of that, it gives us the chance as we're worshipping to really enter in that feeling of worship through the song and through the way it's done. And because we're comfortable with the type of music, it just really brings out that real praise of God. And I think you can see that if you ever go onto YouTube or look on the videos of like Hillsongs, for example, or the Bradford Fellowship. And these are churches which are vibrant in the worship, and they all adopt this contemporary form of worship. So those are the two reasons why I'm sold on the idea.
Yeah, well, wonderful. You know, hearing your story, it reminds me of my own, because I reluctantly went back to church when a friend invited me, and I didn't know what to expect. But I was pleasantly surprised that the environment I did feel comfortable in. So it was a church with a couple of praise bands. There was lots of young people, and the music was good. But what really caught my eye was I'd never seen people sort of authentically worshipping God in the way that they were. So, you know, I was listening to the songs that didn't really mean anything to me, but watching these people worship, and that really caught my attention, that these people really believed in God and how they were expressing themselves. And then later on, as my faith was growing, I was doing the Alpha course, which is like an introduction to Christianity course. You know, yes, some of the new modern worship songs are a bit repetitive, but they're repetitive in key verses, quite often from scripture. So sometimes the song's going over in your head, and what's going over in your head is a key verse from scripture. So as a new Christian, I was getting fed on God's word and in a way that was sticking to me before I'd had the opportunity or the confidence to open my Bible. So I agree with you about how it's just important that we don't write off any kind of worship music. You know, it's all worship, and it all can be used to help people to engage more in their faith.
Yeah, I mean, I still love a lot of the old hymns. There's no doubt. A lot of the time we would sing the old Wesley hymns and so on, and they're wonderful hymns. But you know, we live in a modern culture, and I think we have to adopt and evolve with the culture around us. Otherwise, we become a dinosaur. So I think we have to carry on. We have to carry on moving.
Yeah, and you know, I was saying to someone else the other day, you know, I couldn't believe when I came as the minister at Dundonald how many musicians and singers I found in the one space in the church. You know, we've got a really gifted, creative church with so many different people with different skills, and I think, you know, not using your gifting. You know, I'm not musical at all, and I can't sing, even though I like to. So I really just love finding people that have got a musical talent and getting them to perform, because it's just such a gift to share. Now, when we're thinking about the era that we're in at the moment, you know, my kind of prayer and my sense is that God is doing a new thing right now. And that, you know, if we stay in tune to God in prayer, then we can partner with him in an amazing journey of something new that he's trying to do. You know, as a member of the church here in Dundonald, as a member of the Church of Scotland, what would you see being your hopes and visions for your own local church, but even more the wider church? That's a big question, but...
It is a big question. Yeah, well, I think Dundonald's in a very unique position, because it's... you know, it's right there in the village. It's the only church in the village. So in a sense, you're a captive audience, I think. But it's also a village that's got a real amount of what's the word? Community spirit. It's a very community spirit, and there's so many opportunities in the village, which I know that you're already praying about and exploiting. And it's really quite exciting to think what could be done if the church really starts to look outside the church building as to where it can actually be working. Mm-hmm. So so I would hope that we could actually reach out through various forms of ministry to the people that don't go to the church, to the people that don't have a faith at the moment. And let's face it, that's a high percentage of the people that are in the village. If everyone from the village came to the church, you wouldn't fit them in, would you? Nowhere near. So we only did a small percentage to start really seeking after the faith. But where I think we do need to think about again is this environment that's comfortable to people. Back in the 70s, I had a Christian rock band, and we went out to many schools, youth clubs, youth fellowships. Even went out to Spain. Actually, one time we did a tour of Spain. So we went, and we were taking the message, Christ's message, through what was quite heavy music in actual fact, quite heavy rock music. But it went down very well with the young people we were singing to, and a lot of them were really questioning, and many of them were actually took back to the church that we were worshipping at, which isn't the one where I was converted. It was one because by that time I moved home and we're in a different church. And the problem there was that people came, the kids came, but they found again the environment so alien. They just never managed to make it through to becoming to faith. Well, some came to faith, but they didn't actually ever come to our church. They would find other churches that were more akin to their desires. So I think again for us in Dundonald, I think the challenge is once we start to contact people and have people interested, how do we get that environment, that worship that, like you were saying, you didn't necessarily understand the words or know the words, but you could just see that the people really, really had this experience of God, and they were expressing it through their worship. And I think that's the challenge, how we can do that. And my vision would be for a community church, a church that is reaching out, not just going out and preaching, but going out and doing. And by doing, you are demonstrating God's love and the love that we have for each other.
Absolutely, Kevin. And I think this time of COVID hasn't been a good time for a lot of people, and it's been painful and sad to see the statistics of how many people have lost their life. What 42,500 people. But for the church, we have been given an opportunity to reach outside the walls of our building and to properly show God's grace and love to people that are hurting. And it's a privilege to be able to do that and to serve in that way. My heart is that, yes, we're a village and we have a church in a village, and it has to be a community church where people of all walks in the village are represented in the church. Because if you came to church, absolutely, for example, as a woman and the church was full of men, you're not going to want to stay there because there's no one like you there. But if you came to church and you think, oh, well, half are women and half are men, there's a place for me, you'll stay. So the church has to have people, all walks of life, all stages and ages, all positions, everyone, and all is welcome is what I would love to see, that you would feel confident that inviting someone into the building because you know that they will feel at home. So absolutely, we share the same vision and heart there. Just finally, Kevin, I've given this question to everybody because I think it's a great question. So how have you heard God speak to you in these kind of uncertain days?
Well, I think we all go through times of testing. There are times when we get many difficulties, we get illnesses, unfortunately, you get bereavements. These sort of things happen. And I think Paul speaks about this in 2 Corinthians when he talks about, he actually says, bring it on, because when these things happen, that's when God shows his strength through him. And I think we have to be very thankful and resolute in our faith at this time. Thankful that we're still here. Thankful that we have our faith, and that ultimately our faith isn't for the here and now, it's for the future, although obviously it impacts our life here and now. And I mean, personally for me, it's sure there's a lot of negatives. I mean, I've really missed not seeing my 3 daughters who are scattered around the globe, and probably won't see them for some time to come yet. So we really miss that. But there are pluses, because normally over the summer, Michelle and I will be gone for 3 or 4 months away in our camper van or visiting people and things. So I wouldn't, for example, have been able to get involved in the worship the way I did this year. She wouldn't have bought me this fantastic software that she got me that allows me to do the home recordings and things. I mean, it wasn't actually for the church. She got it because I've got some other projects I was working on with the music. But obviously, it's been useful, and I've found a lot of blessing actually through working with the worship songs, working with the people, and I think it's been good to see how God has met all those different needs at this time. And I am just very thankful too, and I think we should all be thankful for this, that it's happened now. Because if it happened 10 years ago, when we didn't have the technology, we didn't have the Skype, we didn't have the messenger and all the other things, life would have been so much harder, for us to keep in touch with our kids, and I'm sure it's for every family. We've got this technology, so yes, it's been a difficult time in many ways, but it's like every cloud has this silver lining, and as Christians, I think we have to work at that. We have to work on the silver lining.
Do you know, you've just that's my sermon for Sunday. My sermon for Sunday is instead of harboring bad attitude, to harbor gratitude. Because quite often it's easy to see everything that's wrong and everything that's not going your way. But actually, when we start to count our blessings, we realise just how blessed we actually are. Well,
and then the other thing, even just little things like, we had the courtyard service here. We got actually to know the neighbours a whole lot better, and they really, really appreciated what we were doing for them. And it just brought a sense of community, and we're doing things that we've never seen before. So there have been a lot of positives. Let's not just concentrate on the negatives. There have been positives.
Yeah, and I think that's it. God's given us opportunities to reach out to others in unique and creative ways that we wouldn't have been able to do if we weren't in this situation. So the fact that you were able to use the lockdown as an opportunity to have worship for the people in your courtyard where you are was such a blessing, and so many people wrote to me to let me know what a blessing that was, to be able to actually hear live worship and someone speaking. It's incredible. And then for us as a church, being able to reach out to our community with our bags of joy and our bags of fun, and show people that they matter, that they care, and that they're important, and no matter who they are, they're important to God. That was our simple message. We wouldn't have been doing that if COVID wasn't here. So it's flipping things on its head, and staying thankful.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, Kevin, for your time. I've really loved talking to you.
It's a lovely time. Thank you.
See you soon. Bye bye for now.
See you, Lynsey.